Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of truth, travelers of the inner world, there is something curious about solitude, isn't there? The moment you step away from the crowd, the moment you embrace being alone, society whispers in your ear, "Come back." Because being alone, truly alone, is an art. And those who master it, they are no longer like the rest. You see, most people fear solitude. They run from it like a shadow that haunts them at night. But the chosen ones, the rare few, they step into the silence and discover something extraordinary. A power, a transformation, a superhuman ability that makes them different from 80% of the world. Most people never truly meet themselves. They live their entire lives surrounded by noise, external expectations, social conditioning, and the endless chatter of the world. From the moment they wake up, their minds are flooded with other people's voices, news, opinions, conversations, digital distractions. Their thoughts are not their own. They are echoes of what they have been told to believe. Resonance is the air you breathe. For an acquaintance like this, or however it might feel, but when a person steps into solitude, something profound happens. The noise begins to fade, and for the first time, they are left with nothing but themselves. No distractions, no filters, just raw, unedited self-awareness. It is in this space that the chosen ones come face to face with their own minds. They begin to notice the thoughts that have been running on autopilot, the fears that have inherited, and the desires that are not truly theirs. In solitude, self-reflection deepens. The chosen ones start asking the questions that most people avoid. Who am I beneath my roles? What do I truly want? What is the source of my suffering? These are not easy questions, and they often come with uncomfortable answers. But through this discomfort, they gain something that 80% of people never attain: authentic self-acknowledgement. They begin to see their patterns, their emotional triggers, and the illusions they have been living under. They recognize the false identities they once clung to. Identities shaped by societal norms, cultural expectations, and the need to fit in. As these illusions dissolve, a new awareness emerges. One that is not based on external validation, but on an unshakable inner truth. This deep self-understanding is not something that can be taught in schools or found in books. It is something that must be experienced firsthand in the quiet space where the mind is forced to confront itself. The chosen ones realize that most people never take this journey. They remain strangers to themselves, constantly seeking fulfillment in external things, relationships, achievements, material possessions, never realizing that the answers they seek have been within them all along. When a person truly knows themselves, they stop being controlled by the world. They no longer need approval to feel worthy, nor do they fear standing alone. Their decisions become clearer, their sense of direction stronger, and their actions more intentional. While others drift through life without questioning why, the chosen ones move with purpose because they have uncovered the most valuable knowledge of all, the truth of who they really are. Loneliness is something that most people dread. It is an emotion they avoid at all costs, filling their days with noise, distractions, and the presence of others just to escape the feeling of being alone. They scroll endlessly through social media, immerse themselves in entertainment, and engage in meaningless conversations, not because they truly enjoy these things, but because silence is unbearable to them. The absence of external stimulation forces them to confront thoughts and emotions they would rather ignore. But the chosen ones are different. Instead of fearing loneliness, they embrace it. They do not run from the silence, they step into it. And in doing so, they discover something remarkable. Loneliness is not a curse, but a gateway to transformation, to self-discovery, and to an unparalleled depth of thought that most people will never experience. Mental alchemy is the art of transforming one state of mind into another, and solitude is the perfect crucible for this transformation. At first, being alone can feel heavy, an emptiness that presses down like an invisible weight. But as time passes, the chosen ones begin to reshape their perception. They start to see that what they once called loneliness is actually spaciousness. It is an open field where their thoughts, ideas, and creativity can roam freely, without the constraints of outside influence. In this state, the mind begins to expand, thoughts become deeper, more profound, more original. Creativity flourishes, and ideas emerge that would have otherwise been drowned out by the noise of everyday life. Writers, artists, philosophers, and visionaries throughout history have all understood this. Solitude is the space where masterpieces are born, where groundbreaking ideas take shape, and where wisdom crystallizes. The chosen ones do not see loneliness as a void to be filled. They see it as fertile ground for creation. But mental alchemy is not just about creativity, it is also about emotional mastery. Most people are enslaved by their emotions. When they feel sad, they seek distractions. When they feel anxious, they try to suppress it. But those who have mastered solitude learn a different approach. They sit with their emotions, observing them without resistance. They allow themselves to feel deeply, to understand the roots of their emotions, and to transmute pain into wisdom. This process is not easy. It requires facing fears, unresolved traumas, and inner conflicts that have long been buried beneath the surface. That in solitude, there is no one to hide from. The mind, left to its own devices, begins to unravel its own mysteries. The chosen ones learn to transform suffering into strength, despair into insight, and isolation into a deep sense of inner peace. As this transformation unfolds, something else happens. The need for external validation begins to fade. The chosen ones no longer seek constant engagement or approval from others. They no longer need distractions to feel whole. They find fulfillment in their own company, and their minds become a sanctuary rather than a prison. The solitude that once felt like an exile becomes a source of power. A power that most people will never understand. An incredible mind, a power that most people will never understand. Solitude. Most people live their lives tethered to the expectations of others. From childhood, they are conditioned to seek approval, to conform, to fit into the mold that society has designed for them. They are told what to believe, how to behave, what success looks like, and even what kind of life they should aspire to. The need for external validation becomes so deeply ingrained that they rarely stop to question whether the path they are on is truly their own. This dependence on external validation is what keeps most people trapped. They hesitate before making decisions, always wondering what others will think. They shrink themselves to fit into spaces that do not align with their true nature. They suppress their opinions, their desires, and their unique perspectives, all in an effort to avoid judgment, rejection, or disapproval. Their sense of self is fragile, built on the shifting sands of other people's opinions, and because of this they live in a constant state of anxiety, never fully secure in who they are, always needing reassurance from the outside world. But the chosen ones, those who embrace solitude, break free from this invisible cage. They spend enough time alone to recognize that their worth is not dependent on how others perceive them. They do not need permission to be who they are. They do not need constant validation to feel secure in their choices. In solitude, they learn to trust themselves in a way that most people never will. And so take back control, because it is the only power you really have. Without the influence of outside voices shaping their every thought, they begin to develop their own philosophy, their own standards, their own definition of success. They no longer feel the need to explain themselves or seek approval before taking action. They realize that they alone are responsible for their own path. And with this realization comes a newfound sense of power, an independence that is unshakable. An independence that is unshakable An independence that is unshakable. An independence that is unshakable. This independence is not just about making decisions without consulting others. It is about standing firm in those decisions even when the world does not understand them. It is about being able to walk away from toxic relationships, unfulfilling jobs, and societal pressures without hesitation. It is about knowing that solitude is not loneliness, but rather a state of self-sufficiency that allows them to thrive regardless of who is or isn't around. Most people are afraid to be alone because they equate it with being unwanted or unloved. But the chosen ones redefine what it means to be alone. To them, solitude is not isolation, it is freedom. It is the ability to exist on their own terms, without compromise, without dilution, without fear of being misunderstood. In this state, they no longer chase people, attention, or approval. They do not mold themselves to fit into spaces that were never meant for them. They do not beg to be accepted or wait for others to give them a sense of belonging. Instead, they create their own belonging, their own world, their own sense of fulfillment. This unshakable independence grants them a level of resilience that most people do not possess. When life throws challenges their way, they do not crumble under pressure or seek others to save them. They have built a solid foundation within themselves, one that does not waver in the face of adversity. They have become their own anchor, their own guide, their own source of strength. While others remain bound by the fear of rejection, the chosen ones move freely. While others hesitate, waiting for validation, they take action. While others compromise their truth to be accepted, they stand firm in their authenticity. And in doing so, they set themselves apart from the masses, becoming the rare few who have mastered the art of living life entirely on their own terms. Most people walk through life with blinders on, absorbed in the illusions of the world around them. They are constantly bombarded by distractions, advertisements, societal norms, the media's portrayal of success and happiness, the ever-present pull of social comparison. These forces shape how they perceive reality, and as a result they are caught in a never-ending cycle of striving for something that is, in many ways, out of reach. The pursuit of wealth, status, popularity, and material success becomes a distraction from what truly matters. People buy into the idea that they must constantly do more, be more, have more, without ever stopping to question the underlying assumptions behind these desires. The chosen ones, however, when they embrace solitude, are able to step back from all of this noise. They move beyond the distractions, the expectations, and the illusions that most people are trapped in. In solitude, they are not influenced by the constant chatter of society, and as a result, they gain a clearer view of reality, a reality unclouded by the false beliefs that most people hold. It is in this space of silence and stillness that they begin to see the truth of the world around them. They realize that much of what they have been taught is not reality at all. It is a construct. Society's ideals of success, beauty, happiness, and purpose are often empty and shallow, created to sell a narrative that benefits a few. But ultimately, the chosen ones come to understand that the happiness they seek cannot be bought or acquired through external achievements. It lies within themselves, in a deeper connection to life itself. This clarity allows them to break free from the illusions of scarcity and competition. They see through the lies of the system, the notion that there is not enough to go around, that they must fight for limited resources, that they must conform to be accepted. They see the world not as a place of rivalry and struggle, but as a vast, interconnected web of experiences. They understand that true abundance is not measured by material wealth, but by the richness of the human experience, relationships, connection, and the pursuit of purpose. As they observe life more closely, the chosen ones begin to see through the masks that people wear. They see the fear behind the false facades, the insecurity masked by arrogance, the loneliness hidden beneath layers of busyness, They are not fooled by appearances. They understand that most people are playing a role, trying to fit into a mold that society has imposed on them. They see the world through a lens of compassion, because they understand that most of these illusions are born from a deep sense of disconnection and fear. In solitude, they also come to understand their own illusions, the beliefs and habits they have carried without ever questioning their validity. They recognize that much of their suffering has been self-imposed, the result of adhering to ideas that were never truly their own. They see the places where they have clung to false identities, trying to be someone they were never meant to be, trying to meet the expectations of others instead of embracing their authentic selves. This clarity transforms the way they approach life. They no longer fall prey to the distractions and illusions that control the masses. They know that life is not about accumulating things, chasing empty goals, or living according to the script handed to them by society. They no longer feel pressured to fit into predefined roles. Instead, they create their own path, based on what is real, what is true, and what resonates with their deepest being. With this new perspective, they move through the world with a sense of inner freedom that is rare and precious. They are not bound by the chains of societal expectations. They do not live in reaction to the world around them, but instead, they respond from a place of deep understanding. They have seen the truth of reality, and as a result, they are no longer controlled by its illusions. They can walk in the world, but not be of it. They are free from the need to conform, to prove themselves, or to seek validation from external sources. They have come to understand that the only thing that truly matters is their own experience of life. And that understanding sets them apart from the vast majority who remain trapped in the illusions of the world. It is a paradox that many fail to grasp. The more you embrace your own solitude, the more magnetic you become to others. At first, this may sound counterintuitive. In a world that prizes connection and social validation, how can someone who chooses to be alone attract the attention, admiration, and respect of others? Yet this is the power of solitude, a power that the chosen ones understand deeply. Fill yourself with light, love, and lightness. You shall not go before the burning. It is the only way out. It is the power of solitude, a power that will not last long. When a person is truly comfortable in their own skin, when they no longer need to seek out the approval of others or chase after fleeting forms of external validation, something remarkable happens. They begin to radiate a quiet, unspoken confidence. It is not the boisterous confidence of someone trying to prove themselves, but a deep, grounded presence that comes from knowing exactly who they are and where they stand in the world. And this kind of presence is rare and magnetic because it is rooted in authenticity. People are drawn to this authenticity, whether they are conscious of it or not, because it speaks to something within them that they long for. A sense of inner peace, self-acceptance, and strength. The chosen ones develop an aura that is almost palpable. It is not something they try to project. It is simply a natural consequence of their deep self-understanding and their mastery of solitude. They have spent so much time alone, so much time cultivating their inner world, that they have become comfortable with who they are. They do not need to impress anyone, and as a result, they attract others without effort. There is no need for superficial charm or forceful energy, because their very being emanates a quiet power that others cannot help but notice. This magnetic presence is also rooted in a sense of stillness. In a world of constant noise and distractions, those who are able to sit in silence with themselves develop a sense of calm that is incredibly appealing. They are not caught up in the frantic pace of life, constantly rushing from one activity to the next. Instead, they exude a peacefulness that draws others in, creating a space where people feel safe, seen, and understood. The chosen ones are able to listen in a way that most people cannot. Because they have spent so much time alone, they have learned the art of deep listening, not just to the words spoken, but to the energy behind them. They understand the nuances of human interaction, the unspoken feelings, and the subtle currents of emotion that often go unnoticed. This makes them incredibly empathetic and compassionate, and people are naturally drawn to their presence because it offers a sense of comfort and validation. People feel seen in a way they are not accustomed to, and this magnetic effect draws them closer. But the chosen one's presence is not limited to their ability to connect with others. It also has the power to inspire. There is something almost awe-inspiring about someone who has mastered solitude, someone who is not dependent on the world to define them. The chosen ones do not follow trends or bend to the will of the crowd. They stand firmly in their own truth, and this unwavering authenticity creates an energy that is both captivating and inspiring. Others are naturally inclined to follow their lead, to seek out their wisdom, to learn from their example. The more the chosen ones understand the power of their own solitude, the more they become aware of how others are affected by their presence. They are not simply being in the world, they are shaping the world around them without even trying. Their very existence becomes a source of strength, a beacon of possibility, and a reminder to others that it is possible to be content and fulfilled without the constant need for external validation in this way. They become not just observers of life, but active participants in the way that life unfolds, subtly influencing the world with their presence. This magnetic power is not something that can be easily replicated. It is not about cultivating charm or charisma for the sake of attention. It is not about performing or pretending to be something you are not. It is the natural byproduct of a life lived in deep connection with oneself. It is the power of being so grounded in your own sense of self that you naturally attract others, not because you need them, but because you've learned to be whole and complete on your own. Respect is not demanded, it is inspired, but the absence of it can sting deeply. When faced with those who don't respect you, how should you respond? Let us explore 5 transformative ways. Silence holds an extraordinary power that is often underestimated in a world filled with noise. It is not merely the absence of words, but a deliberate and profound choice to withhold reaction. Silence allows one to step away from the immediate pull of emotions and create a space where clarity can emerge. When faced with disrespect, the instinct might be to retaliate, to explain, or to defend. But silence transcends these impulses, offering something far greater control over oneself. When someone disrespects you, they often aim to provoke a reaction. This reaction feeds their sense of power, confirming that they can manipulate your emotional state. By remaining silent, you deny them this satisfaction. Silence becomes a mirror, reflecting their behavior back to them without interference. It forces them to confront their actions in the absence of your reaction. This can be deeply unsettling for those who thrive on conflict or seek validation through confrontation. Your silence strips them of their control and reasserts your sovereignty over your inner world. Silence also serves as a protective barrier. Words spoken in anger or frustration often carry an energy that escalates conflict. A harsh reply can inflame tensions, leaving both parties wounded. But silence diffuses this energy. It interrupts the cycle of negativity and allows emotions to settle. In this stillness, you preserve your peace and avoid becoming entangled in destructive exchanges. This restraint requires immense strength and discipline, but it pays dividends in maintaining your emotional well-being. Choosing silence is not a sign of weakness. On the contrary, it is a testament to your inner strength. To remain silent in the face of disrespect demands a deep understanding of your self-worth. It is an assertion that you do not need to prove yourself to anyone. By refusing to engage, you demonstrate that your value is not diminished by someone else's inability to see it. This is a powerful message both to others and to yourself. It reinforces the belief that your worth is inherent and unshaken by external opinions. Moreover, silence provides an opportunity for reflection. It gives you the space to assess the situation without the cloud of anger or hurt. In the quiet, you can consider the motivations behind the disrespect. Is it born of misunderstanding, insecurity, or malice? Understanding the root of the behavior can help you decide the most appropriate response. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. Silence in this context is not passive, but an active choice to disengage from negativity. Silence also communicates in ways that words cannot. It can express dignity, self-control, and confidence. When someone confronts you with disrespect and you respond with silence, it sends a clear message: I will not stoop to your level. This unspoken statement often carries more weight than any verbal retort. It elevates you above the situation and demonstrates a level of maturity that commands respect even from those who initially sought to undermine you. In relationships, silence can serve as a tool for resetting dynamics. When words fail to convey your feelings or set boundaries, silence can speak volumes. It signals that you will not participate in interactions that devalue you. Over time, this silence can lead to a shift in how others perceive and treat you. It teaches them that disrespect will not elicit a reaction, forcing them to reconsider their approach. Silence also protects your energy. Every interaction you have carries an emotional cost. Engaging with disrespect drains your reserves and leaves you feeling depleted. Silence, however, conserves your energy. It allows you to channel your focus into areas that truly matter, rather than wasting it on people or situations that do not deserve your attention. In this way, silence becomes an act of self-care, a means of preserving your mental and emotional health. In moments of silence, you reconnect with your inner self. You hear the thoughts that often go unnoticed amidst the chaos. This connection strengthens your sense of identity and purpose, grounding you in who you are. It reminds you that your worth is not defined by the opinions of others, but by the essence of your being. This realization is profoundly liberating and empowers you to navigate life with greater confidence and grace. To master silence is to master yourself. It requires patience, resilience, and a deep understanding of your own value. It is a practice, not a one-time decision, and it grows stronger with each instance you choose it. Over time, you will find that silence becomes second nature, a reflexive response that protects and empowers you. Through silence, you reclaim your power. You step away from the need to defend, explain, or retaliate. You allow yourself to rise above the noise and embrace a state of inner peace that cannot be shaken by external forces. Silence is not the absence of action, but the presence of wisdom. It is a reminder that true strength lies not in the loudness of your voice, but in the steadiness of your spirit. Setting boundaries is an essential act of self-respect and self-preservation. It is a way of defining the lines that safeguard your emotional and mental well-being, ensuring that others understand how to engage with you in a manner that honors your values and dignity. Boundaries are not about controlling others, they are about communicating your limits and taking responsibility for protecting your own peace. In doing so, you create a space where mutual respect can thrive. When you establish boundaries, you are sending a clear message about what you will and will not tolerate. This clarity is not just for others, it is also for yourself. It requires an honest assessment of your needs, priorities, and values. Boundaries are a reflection of your inner world, translating your sense of self-worth into actionable guidelines. They act as a filter, allowing positive, respectful interactions to flow while blocking negativity and disrespect. The act of setting boundaries begins with awareness. You must recognize when your peace is being disrupted, or when someone's actions or words cross a line. This awareness often comes with discomfort, a signal from your inner self that something is not right. Listening to this discomfort is the first step in identifying where boundaries need to be established. It is a process of tuning into your feelings and acknowledging your right to protect them. Once you have identified the need for a boundary, the next step is communication. Boundaries are most effective when they are clearly and calmly articulated. This communication is not about confrontation, but about asserting your needs with confidence and respect. For example, if someone frequently interrupts you, expressing your boundary might involve saying, "I value our conversations, but I would appreciate it if we could both take turns speaking." This approach focuses on the behavior rather than the person. reducing the likelihood of conflict while reinforcing your limits. The act of setting boundaries also involves consistency. A boundary is only as strong as your commitment to uphold it. If you allow others to repeatedly cross your limits without consequence, the boundary becomes meaningless. Enforcing boundaries requires a balance of firmness and grace. It may involve difficult conversations or actions, such as stepping back from certain relationships or situations. These moments can be challenging, but they are essential for maintaining the integrity of your boundaries. Boundaries are not static, they evolve as you grow and as your circumstances change. What you needed in one phase of life may not be what you need in another. This adaptability ensures that your boundaries remain aligned with your current values and priorities. Revisiting and reassessing your boundaries periodically is a way of staying true to yourself. One of the most powerful aspects of setting boundaries is the way it fosters mutual respect. When you assert your limits, you are modeling respect for yourself. This self-respect often inspires others to treat you with the same regard. Additionally, clear boundaries provide a framework for healthier interactions. They eliminate confusion and misunderstandings, creating a foundation for relationships that are built on honesty and respect. Setting boundaries can sometimes be met with resistance, particularly from those who have benefited from a lack of them. This resistance is not a reflection of your worth or the validity of your boundaries, but rather an indication of the other person's discomfort with change. It is important to remain steadfast in these moments, remembering that your boundaries are not negotiable. They are a declaration of your right to live in a way that honors your peace and dignity. In many ways, boundaries are an act of love, not just for yourself, but for others as well. They create clarity and structure, reducing the potential for conflict and resentment. When you set boundaries, you are not only protecting your own well-being, but also fostering an environment where others can engage with you in a way that is constructive and respectful. Setting boundaries requires courage. It often involves stepping out of your comfort zone and facing the possibility of pushback or rejection. But this courage is a testament to your self-respect and your commitment to living authentically. Boundaries are a way of standing in your truth and asserting your right to be treated with respect and dignity. But at its core, setting boundaries is about taking ownership of your life. It is about recognizing that you have the power to shape your interactions and create a space where your values are upheld. By setting boundaries, you reclaim your energy, protect your peace, and foster relationships that nourish rather than drain you. It is an act of empowerment, a way of honoring the sacredness of your inner world and the life you wish to create. Detachment from validation is a profound practice that frees you from the chains of external approval. It is the realization that your worth does not lie in the opinions or affirmations of others, but is rooted deeply within yourself. Seeking validation is a natural human inclination. We all wish to feel seen, heard, and valued. However, when the need for validation governs your actions and emotions, it can become a heavy burden, leaving you vulnerable to the whims of others. True freedom begins when you detach from the need to be validated. This does not mean rejecting compliments or feedback, rather. It means not depending on them for your sense of self-worth. When your identity is tied to the opinions of others, you surrender control over your inner peace. You allow their judgments, both positive and negative, to shape how you view yourself. This dependency can lead to a cycle of constant striving, where your happiness hinges on external approval, a fleeting and unpredictable source. Detachment begins with self-awareness. You must recognize the ways in which you seek validation and how it influences your choices. This awareness often reveals patterns of behavior rooted in fear of rejection, fear of being misunderstood, or fear of not being enough. Acknowledging these fears is the first step toward freeing yourself from their grip. It is an act of courage to confront the parts of yourself that long for validation and to question why they hold such power. When you detach from validation, you reclaim your authenticity. You no longer feel compelled to shape yourself to fit the expectations or preferences of others. Instead, you align your actions with your own values and desires. This alignment brings a profound sense of integrity as you live in accordance with your truth rather than bending to external pressures. It allows you to make choices that resonate with your inner being, even if they are not popular or widely understood. Detachment also fosters resilience. When you are not reliant on external validation, you become less affected by criticism or rejection. These experiences, while still unpleasant, no longer define your sense of self. Instead, they become opportunities for growth and reflection. You can evaluate feedback objectively, discerning what is constructive and what is not, without feeling personally diminished. This resilience empowers you to navigate challenges with grace, knowing that your worth remains intact regardless of external circumstances. An important aspect of detachment is recognizing that validation, when it comes, is often fleeting. The same people who praise you today may criticize you tomorrow. Public opinion is fickle and ever-changing, and trying to keep up with it is an exhausting endeavor. Detachment allows you to step off this treadmill, grounding yourself in the stability of your own self-worth. It is a reminder that true peace comes from within, not from the fleeting approval of others. Detachment from validation also deepens your relationships. When you no longer seek approval, you can engage with others from a place of authenticity rather than need. This creates space for genuine connection, as your interactions are no longer clouded by the desire to impress or win favor. You are free to be yourself, and this openness invites others to do the same. Relationships built on this foundation are more honest, fulfilling, and enduring. This practice requires consistent effort and self-reflection. It involves challenging the beliefs and habits that have conditioned you to seek validation. You may need to unlearn patterns of people-pleasing or overachievement that were driven by a need for approval. This process is not easy, but it is profoundly liberating. It allows you to redefine success and fulfillment on your own terms, rather than measuring them by external standards. Detachment does not mean indifference. It is not about rejecting all feedback or isolating yourself from others. Rather, it is about discerning whose opinions truly matter and why. Constructive feedback from trusted sources can be valuable for growth, but it should not dictate your self-worth. Detachment allows you to accept feedback with gratitude and discernment, using it to refine yourself without losing your sense of identity. As you practice detachment, you will notice a shift in how you approach challenges and opportunities. Without the weight of seeking validation, you become more willing to take risks and explore new paths. The fear of failure diminishes because your worth is no longer tied to the outcome. This freedom opens doors to creativity and innovation, as you are no longer confined by the fear of others' judgments. At its heart, detachment from validation is about cultivating a deep and unwavering connection with yourself. It is about learning to trust your intuition, value your own opinion, and embrace your unique journey. When you no longer seek validation, you discover the joy of living authentically, free from the need to prove yourself to anyone. This inner freedom is a profound gift, one that allows you to move through life with confidence, peace, and an unshakable sense of self. Leading by example is one of the most powerful ways to inspire respect and bring about meaningful change. It is not about commanding others or imposing your beliefs. It is about embodying the qualities you wish to see in the world. Your actions, more than your words, carry the weight of authenticity and integrity, showing others what is possible when principles are lived fully. When you lead by example, you cultivate influence that is earned, not demanded, and it resonates far deeper than mere authority. To lead by example, one must first cultivate self-awareness. This involves understanding your values, motivations, and the impact of your behavior on others. When you are clear about what you stand for, your actions naturally align with your principles. This alignment is the foundation of authenticity, a quality that draws people toward you and inspires trust. People are far more likely to follow someone who practices what they preach than someone who simply dictates from a place of contradiction. Consistency is a key element of leading by example. It is not enough to act with integrity in moments of ease. True leadership is demonstrated in times of challenge and adversity. When you uphold your values in difficult situations, you show others that principles are not negotiable. This steadfastness inspires respect and admiration, as it demonstrates strength of character and unwavering commitment. It also sets a standard for others to aspire to, encouraging them to find their own inner resolve. Leading by example also requires humility. It is not about perfection, but about striving to improve and being honest about your shortcomings. When you acknowledge your mistakes and take responsibility for them, you model accountability. This vulnerability does not diminish your authority. Instead, it strengthens it, as it shows others that growth is a continuous journey. People are more likely to follow someone who demonstrates humility and a willingness to learn than someone who projects an image of infallibility. Empathy is another cornerstone of leading by example. When you approach others with understanding and compassion, you create an environment where people feel valued and supported. This fosters a culture of respect and collaboration, as people are inspired to emulate the kindness and consideration they experience. Empathy also enables you to connect with others on a deeper level, building trust and mutual respect that forms the foundation of lasting influence. Your actions have a ripple effect, extending far beyond what you may initially perceive. When you lead by example, you set a tone that influences the behavior of others, even in subtle ways. For instance, in a group setting, your willingness to listen attentively and respect differing perspectives can inspire others to do the same. Over time, these small actions accumulate, creating a culture of respect and understanding. This is the power of example. It shapes the collective through the individual. Leading by example also involves making decisions with integrity. When faced with choices, your actions should reflect your values, even when the path of integrity is not the easiest. These decisions demonstrate courage and reinforce the trust others place in you. They also show that you prioritize long-term principles over short-term gains, a quality that inspires confidence and loyalty. Patience is essential in leading by example, as change often takes time. People may not immediately recognize or adopt the behaviors you model, but consistency over time has a profound impact. By remaining committed to your values and demonstrating them through your actions, you plant seeds that may grow long after the initial example was set. This requires faith in the process and a willingness to lead without immediate recognition or reward. Leading by example is not limited to grand gestures or significant moments. It is reflected in the everyday choices you make, the way you treat others, and how you carry yourself in ordinary circumstances. Small acts of kindness, fairness, and diligence often have the most profound effect, as they are observed in moments when no one expects you to perform. These quiet acts of integrity reveal the true essence of your character and inspire others to reflect on their own. In relationships, leading by example is a way of fostering mutual respect and understanding. When you communicate honestly, listen actively, and treat others with kindness, you set a standard for how you wish to be treated. Over time, this approach encourages reciprocity, as people are naturally drawn to mirror the behavior they admire. This creates a cycle of positivity that strengthens connections and builds a foundation of trust. One of the most significant aspects of leading by example is the sense of responsibility it fosters within yourself. Knowing that your actions influence others encourages you to be more intentional and mindful in how you live. This heightened awareness not only benefits those around you, but also deepens your own sense of purpose and fulfillment. It reminds you that your life is not lived in isolation, but is intricately connected to the lives of others. To lead by example is to live authentically, act with integrity, and inspire through action rather than words. It is a way of being that transforms not only those who witness it, but also the one who practices it. By embodying the values you hold dear, you create a legacy that resonates far beyond yourself, shaping the world around you in profound and lasting ways. Choosing your circle wisely is one of the most profound decisions you can make for your growth and well-being. The people you surround yourself with have a significant influence on your thoughts, emotions, and actions. They shape your worldview, challenge or reinforce your habits, and either inspire you to strive higher or pull you towards stagnation. Relationships are mirrors that reflect back aspects of yourself, and the quality of those relationships often determines the quality of your life. The power of a carefully chosen circle lies in its ability to align with your values and aspirations. When you surround yourself with people who share a commitment to growth, integrity, and positivity, you create an environment that nurtures your own potential. These individuals serve as sources of encouragement and support, reminding you of your capabilities during moments of doubt. They celebrate your successes without envy and hold you accountable with honesty and kindness. This mutual reinforcement fosters a space where authenticity and progress thrive. Conversely, an ill-chosen circle can drain your energy and stifle your progress. Relationships rooted in negativity, manipulation, or complacency can weigh heavily on your spirit, making it difficult to rise above challenges. These dynamics often manifest subtly, through discouraging remarks, a lack of genuine support, or behaviors that undermine your confidence. Over time, the influence of such relationships can lead to self-doubt, diminished ambition, and a loss of clarity about your goals. Choosing wisely begins with self-awareness. You must first understand your own values, priorities, and aspirations. This clarity acts as a compass, guiding you toward relationships that align with your inner truth. When you know what matters most to you, you can recognize who adds value to your journey and who detracts from it. It is not about judgment or superiority, but about discernment, choosing relationships that uplift and empower you rather than those that hinder your growth. A key aspect of this process is recognizing the qualities that matter in a meaningful connection. Trust, respect, and mutual understanding form the foundation of any healthy relationship. Trust allows you to be vulnerable without fear of betrayal, while respect ensures that your boundaries and individuality are honored. Mutual understanding creates a sense of harmony, as both parties feel seen and valued for who they truly are. These qualities are not negotiable. They are the bedrock upon which authentic relationships are built. Choosing your circle also requires courage. It may mean stepping away from relationships that no longer serve your well-being, even if they are long-standing or familiar. This can be a difficult and painful process, as it often involves confronting uncomfortable truths about the dynamics you have tolerated. However, letting go of relationships that drain your energy creates space for those that nurture your growth. It is an act of self-respect, a declaration that you value your peace and purpose above all else. In the process of choosing your circle, it is essential to seek relationships that challenge you to grow. Surrounding yourself solely with people who agree with you or reinforce your comfort zone can lead to stagnation. Instead, look for individuals who inspire you to think differently, take risks, and push beyond your limits. These relationships may not always be easy, as growth often involves discomfort, but they are invaluable for your evolution. Another important consideration is the balance of give and take within your relationships. Healthy connections are reciprocal, with both parties contributing to and benefiting from the bond. When the balance is skewed, whether through one-sided support or excessive demands, the relationship can become draining and unsustainable. Choosing your circle wisely means prioritizing relationships that feel equitable and mutually fulfilling. Your circle should also reflect diversity, not just in background or perspective, but in the ways people enrich your life. Some may provide emotional support, others intellectual stimulation, and still others a sense of adventure or creativity. Each type of connection adds a unique dimension to your experience, broadening your horizons and deepening your understanding of the world. By cultivating a diverse circle, you create a rich tapestry of relationships that nourish different aspects of your being. It is also important to remember that choosing your circle is an ongoing process. Relationships evolve, as do you. What serves you at one stage of life may no longer align with your needs or aspirations later on. Periodically reassessing your circle ensures that it remains a source of support and inspiration rather than a hindrance to your growth. This requires honesty and intentionality, as well as a willingness to make changes when necessary. Finally, choosing your circle wisely is an act of empowerment. It is a reminder that you have agency over the influences in your life. While you cannot control the actions of others, you can control whom you allow into your inner world. By exercising this agency, you take responsibility for the quality of your relationships, and by extension, the quality of your life. It is a powerful declaration that your peace, growth, and happiness are worth protecting. In life, the relationships you cultivate are among the most profound choices you make, shaping your thoughts, actions, and sense of self. Choosing your circle wisely is not about exclusivity or judgment, but about protecting your energy and fostering an environment where growth, authenticity, and mutual respect can flourish. By surrounding yourself with people who inspire, challenge, and support you, you create a foundation for a life of purpose and fulfillment. The courage to step away from negativity and the discernment to seek meaningful connections reflect a commitment to your well-being and aspirations. Ultimately, the circle you choose mirrors your values and becomes a testament to the life you are building, one defined by integrity, empowerment, and boundless potential.